People often assume that celebrating a birthday means someone enjoys attention, recognition, or being the center of a room. Psychologically, that assumption is incomplete. For many people, celebrating a birthday has very little to do with attention itself, and much more to do with how they relate to time, identity, continuity, and emotional acknowledgement. A birthday is not just a date on a calendar, it is a psychological marker. It separates one version of the self from another. It quietly tells the mind something has passed and something has begun. People who choose to celebrate their birthday often experience time as something that deserves recognition, rather than something that should simply move forward unnoticed. They are not necessarily more emotional, more nostalgic, or more sentimental than others. They are often more aware of transition. Every birthday represents a boundary, not a dramatic one, but a subtle psychological line. On one side of that line is who they were. On the other side is who they are becoming. For some people, that boundary feels important to acknowledge. Another key psychological layer is how a person relates to ritual. Humans use rituals to create meaning. Rituals organize time, emotion, and memory. People who celebrate their birthday often feel comfortable using ritual to mark personal experience. The celebration itself does not need to be large. It does not need to be public. It does not need to be impressive. What matters is recognition. Recognition that time has passed. Recognition that the self has endured. Recognition that existence has continued. This does not automatically indicate a desire for validation. In many cases, it reflects comfort with emotional acknowledgement. Some people are comfortable letting moments be witnessed. Others prefer to process privately. Neither approach is superior. They are different psychological orientations. Another important factor is emotional permission. Many people grow up in environments where joy, appreciation, or personal recognition were conditional. Praise had to be earned. Attention had to be justified. Visibility was limited. For these individuals, celebrating a birthday can become a quiet act of self-permission. Not a demand, not a performance, but a choice. A choice to say, this moment is allowed to exist. Psychologically, this can be regulating. It gives the nervous system permission to experience acknowledgement without fear of cost. Birthdays can also function as identity checkpoints. People who celebrate them often perceive themselves as evolving rather than fixed. Each year becomes a reference point. Not always consciously, but consistently. A birthday creates a subtle pause, a moment where the mind briefly scans the past year. What changed? What remained? What was lost? What was gained? This reflection does not need to be verbal. It does not need to be intentional. Sometimes the act of marking the date is enough. The ritual itself signals internal recognition. Another overlooked dimension is social continuity. For many people, birthdays are not primarily about the self. They are about maintaining relational bonds. Inviting others to participate in a birthday is a way of reinforcing connection. It communicates, you exist in my timeline. This is less about attention and more about shared presence. Psychologically, shared rituals strengthen attachment. They provide predictable moments of connection in an otherwise unpredictable world. They help relationships remain anchored in time. Importantly, celebrating a birthday does not imply happiness. Some people celebrate during periods of grief, stress, or emotional uncertainty, not because they feel joyful, but because the ritual provides stability. In those moments, celebration functions as an anchor. It reminds the person that time continues, identity persists, and connection is still possible. From a psychological perspective, rituals help regulate emotional continuity. They provide structure when internal experience feels fragmented. It is also important to understand that celebrating a birthday does not indicate confidence. Many people who celebrate still struggle with self-doubt, insecurity, or uncertainty. Celebration does not erase internal conflict. It simply marks presence. Another psychological layer involves control. People who celebrate their birthday often feel more comfortable choosing how time is acknowledged. Rather than letting time pass unnoticed, they actively mark it. This can create a sense of agency, not over life itself, but over how life is interpreted. In psychology, interpretation matters. Two people can experience the same passage of time and relate to it completely differently. One may ignore it, another may acknowledge it. Neither response is right or wrong. They reflect different relationships with meaning. It is also worth noting that for some people, celebrating a birthday is a way of countering invisibility. As people age, personal milestones often receive less recognition. Childhood birthdays are often celebrated by default. Adult birthdays are often forgotten. Choosing to celebrate can become a way of saying, "I am still here," not loudly, not aggressively, but intentionally. Another dimension is emotional memory. Birthdays often carry associations. For some, they recall warmth and connection. For others, disappointment or neglect. People who continue to celebrate their birthday, despite mixed memories, often do so because they are reshaping the meaning. Psychologically, this can be a form of emotional repair. The present moment becomes an opportunity to redefine the past, not by denying it, but by adding something new. It is also important to separate celebration from expectation. Some people celebrate quietly, without expecting gifts, praise, or special treatment. For them, celebration is internal, a small acknowledgement, a personal pause. Others prefer collective celebration. Again, neither approach is superior. They reflect different emotional needs and social comfort levels. Habit also plays a role. Many people celebrate their birthday simply because they always have. But habit is not meaningless. Repeated behaviors shape identity. Over time, rituals become part of how people understand themselves. They create continuity. Another psychological factor is mortality awareness. Birthdays remind people that time is finite. For some, this creates anxiety. For others, clarity. People who celebrate their birthday are often more willing to acknowledge the passage of time without avoidance. This does not mean they are unafraid of aging. It means they are less avoidant of it. Acknowledgement becomes a way of integrating reality. It is also useful to note what celebrating a birthday does not mean. It does not mean someone is extroverted. It does not mean they seek approval. It does not mean they are emotionally healthy or unhealthy. It simply reveals one thing: how they choose to relate to time, recognition, and shared existence. Just as some people choose celebration, others choose quiet reflection. Some prefer solitude, some prefer community. Both are valid psychological strategies. In psychology, the way people mark milestones often reveals more than the milestones themselves. Celebrating a birthday is not about the event. It is about meaning. Meaning assigned to time. Meaning assigned to presence. Meaning assigned to being seen. And in that sense, birthdays are not about age. They are about how a person relates to existing, continuing, and being part of a shared human timeline. If this perspective helped you understand everyday human behavior more clearly, consider subscribing to The Inner Observer. Here, we explore psychology, identity, and the quiet patterns behind human behavior. Without noise, without judgment,